Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. Today, we're zeroing in on Honeywell, a real industrial giant, but one that's right in the middle of maybe its biggest transition in, well, a long time. We're talking Honeywell upcoming earnings to watch. We've got their Q3 2025 earnings coming up, and honestly, expectations are already a bit shaky, revised down even. But the really big story here, the thing overshadowing everything, is this massive Solstice corporate spinoff. So if you want the real breakdown, what the street might be overlooking, where the operation weak spots are, and how this spinoff changes the whole valuation picture, you're definitely in the right place. And hey, if you find this useful, please hit subscribe, like the video, maybe leave a comment. We're always looking for new companies to analyze. So if there's a specific stock you want us to tackle next, just drop it in the comments below.
Right. And our focus today, it has to be sort of twofold, doesn't it? We need to cut through the noise, the day-to-day operational stuff, what segments are up, what's down, and really look at the Q3 earnings numbers.
Yeah.
But at the same time, maybe even more importantly, we have to get our heads around the Solstice spinoff.
Yeah.
The mechanics, the impact. We're going to connect those dots for you because honestly, for Honeywell right now, it's less about hitting exactly $2.56 in EPS and much more about this whole corporate transformation that's underway.
Okay. Let's unpack the timeline first then, because like you said, the earnings and the separation, they're happening almost back to back. So the Q3 reporting period, that ended September 30th, 2025. And the earnings release itself is set for Thursday, October 24th, 2025, before the market opens.
Exactly. And the market is definitely showing some caution there. Over the past month, say 30 days, we've actually seen analysts pulling their estimates down by about 2.2%.
2.2% downward revision.
Yeah, it's not just random noise. It signals, less confidence in the near term, especially with some of that industrial weakness that just seems to be lingering.
So is that downward revision, that caution, is it tied to anything specific or just the general economic stuff, the inflation, the macro headwinds they keep mentioning in their filings?
Well, it feels like a bit of both, really. The consensus now is kind of threading a needle, right? Expecting adjusted earnings per share somewhere between $2.56 and $2.57. Now, if they hit that, it would actually mean a tiny year-over-year decline, just about 0.8%. And on the revenue side, the projections are pretty tight, $10.09 billion up to maybe $10.15 billion. But the key thing there is the slowdown. That revenue range, it only points to about 3.7% to maybe 4.3% growth. That's definitely slower than the 5.6% increase they posted the year before.
Right, deceleration.
Yeah. And the margin context here is crucial. If you look back, say, Q1 2025, we saw this pattern. Net sales grew, was it 8% year over year? Pretty healthy. But the cost of sales also rose 8% year over year. So that growth didn't really translate to the bottom line as much.
So the margin pressure is real.
It is. It points to ongoing issues. Inflation, yes. But based on our sources, it seems specific things like raw material costs, freight expenses.
Yeah.
They're sticky. Management's struggling to fully pass those costs on through pricing. Hence, the downward estimate revisions.
So the core issue right now is that Honeywell isn't moving in one direction. It's really a mix, isn't it? Some parts doing great, others struggling. That makes the overall earnings picture pretty complicated.
Absolutely. It's a classic mixed bag.
Yeah.
The definite standout, the clear winner right now is aerospace technologies. We're expecting really strong performance there. For one, commercial aviation aftermarket demand is just robust. Airlines are flying a lot, so parts and service demand is high.
Sure.
And second, defense and space revenues. The forecast there is for about $1.75 billion. That's projected to be a 14.1% jump year over year.
Wow, 14.1%. That's huge growth in defense.
It is. It's a massive double-digit driver for the whole company.
Is that mostly U.S. government contracts, or are they getting traction internationally too? Because those international deals can sometimes be, longer-term wins.
It looks like a good mix, actually. Based on the commentary around their defense pipeline, yes, solid U.S. program deliveries, but the acceleration in growth suggests they're also executing well internationally. A lot of allies are ramping up defense spending, and Honeywell seems to be capturing some of that. It feels like a durable driver. But then you flip the coin. The main area of concern, the biggest drag on results, that's clearly the industrial automation segment. Analysts are forecasting a pretty significant drop there, 7.2% year-over-year revenue decline. The whole segment, that's where a lot of the caution's coming from.
Ouch, over 7% down. Where's that weakness concentrated? And what does that tell us about the wider economy?
It's mainly in subsegments that are really sensitive too, like corporate spending plans, process solutions, expected down 5.2%. And productivity solutions that includes things like warehouse automation tech, supply chain stuff that's projected down even more, 7.6%. The analysts point to two main reasons: lower license payments and just ongoing issues in warehouse solutions demand.
Lower license payments.
Yeah.
Yeah, that often signals companies delaying big tech upgrades, right? So it sounds very macro-driven, not just a Honeywell problem.
Exactly. And when you see warehouse solutions slowing, that's a pretty direct signal that industrial production plans, capital spending, it's all getting put on hold or reconsidered. So yeah, that industrial automation slump, but plus the margin squeeze from costs, it ties right back to broader economic indicators, softer manufacturing data, global uncertainty. But, if we step back and look at the bigger strategic picture here, all this operational stuff, strong aerospace, weak industrial, it almost takes a backseat to the Solstice Advanced Materials spinoff.
Yeah.
This isn't just tweaking the portfolio, it's a game changer. It fundamentally alters how the company is likely to be valued.
Okay, valuation. Why is getting rid of advanced materials such a big deal for the market's view?
It really comes down to the quality of the remaining earnings stream and the multiple the market's willing to pay for it. Advanced materials has always been pretty cyclical, right? Tied to things like energy prices, construction activity. And cyclical businesses, well, they typically get lower valuation multiples because their cash flows aren't as predictable. So by spinning off Solstice, the remaining core Honeywell Aerospace, building tech, the automation piece that looks cleaner, those are generally seen as higher quality, less cyclical businesses.
Ah, I see.
You could genuinely see the market potentially awarding the remaining Honeywell a higher price to earnings multiple, maybe even a full turn higher almost overnight, just because the story is simpler and perceived as less risky.
Okay, that makes the actual mechanics of the spinoff incredibly important then. They announced the key dates back in October 2025. Walk us through the timeline and structure again.
Sure. So the record date, that's already passed. That was October 17th. The really key date for shareholders is the expected distribution date, October 30th, 2025. And the structure is pretty straightforward. If you owned Honeywell shares on the record date, you get 1 share of the new Solstice common stock for every 4 shares of Honeywell you held. Solstice will then start trading on its own, new ticker symbol, over on the Nasdaq.
And Solstice isn't just being cut loose, right? It's launching with its own financial setup.
That's right. They've set up their own independent capital structure. They actually did a $1 billion senior notes offering to fund themselves right out of the gate. So financially self-sufficient from day one. And critically for shareholders, the whole deal is structured to be tax-free. Also, kind of an interesting signal, Rose Lee, who's on the Honeywell board, resigned just before the spinoff specifically to join the new Solstice board.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that's seen as a pretty strong endorsement for Solstice's prospects, suggesting maybe some of that hidden value management talks about might actually be unlocked in the focused spun-off company itself.
So the plan is shed the cyclical bit, and then management can really double down, focus attention, and, importantly, capital on the remaining core aerospace. Building automation, energy solutions, it simplifies the investment story, basically. Get rid of the volatile materials business, and analysts are more likely to give the new Honeywell a higher multiple, maybe closer to its more pure-play industrial peers.
Precisely. That's the strategic rationale.
Okay, so pulling this all together, what does it mean for the Q3 report that's coming up next week? If you're watching Honeywell, what are the key things to look for beyond just the headline EPS number? What tells us about the health after the spinoff?
Right, good question. I'd say focus on 2 main metrics. First, keep a close eye on the gross margin. Given that cost pressure we talked about, the gross margin number is really the litmus test for their pricing power and whether they're actually getting costs under control. We need to see signs that pressure is easing. Second, watch the organic revenue growth. Not just total revenue, but organic stripping out acquisitions and currency effects. This shows the real underlying demand in those core segments that will remain, especially building technologies and aerospace. If those organic numbers aren't looking healthy, that whole rating story gets a lot weaker.
Got it. Gross margin and organic growth.
Yeah. So based on all this, the mixed operational signals, the huge restructuring event, we can kind of map out 3 potential scenarios for the earnings release and maybe assign some rough probabilities.
Okay, let's hear them. What's the most likely outcome, the middle ground?
Well, our base case, and we'd put about a 50% probability on this, is basically inline results. They hit that modest consensus, around $2.56 EPS. And crucially, the spin-off details are executed cleanly. No major surprises or hiccups announced. In that scenario, there isn't much new news, really. You'd probably see the stock price move very little, maybe plus or minus 1%, kind of a non-event reaction.
50% for the base case. That seems pretty high with all the moving parts, the spin-off uncertainty, the weak industrial segment. Are you giving management a lot of credit for just pulling off this spin-off smoothly?
I think the market is, yeah.
Yeah.
Honeywell does have a track record of handling these complex transactions reasonably well. So the thinking is the execution risk on the spinoff itself might be lower than the risk around the operational performance, particularly in industrial automation.
Okay, that makes sense. What about the upside scenario?
Right, the bullish case. We design maybe a 30% probability here. This would involve earnings, so revenue and EPS, coming in clearly above that consensus. That beat would likely need to come from either an unexpected recovery in margins or maybe even stronger than anticipated growth, probably in that aerospace aftermarket we mentioned. And if management also comes out with positive guidance for the post-spin company, raising expectations, then you could see a decent pop, maybe in the plus 3% to plus 5% range.
And the downside, the bearish case.
We put that at about a 20% probability. This happens if the results miss consensus estimates, likely due to deeper margin compression than expected, or if management signals that the weakness in industrial automation is actually getting worse or proving harder to fix. And even minor perceived problems or uncertainty around the spinoff execution could also trigger a negative reaction. In that case, you're probably looking at a price drop, maybe -3% to -5%.
Okay, so those are the immediate earnings reactions. But we should also think about what might happen after the spinoff, right? Potential catalysts through the end of the year. Because the focus will shift fast to what they do next.
Definitely. Capital deployment becomes the key story post-spin.
There's already quite a bit of chatter, speculation really, about an accelerated share buyback program. Management might feel pressure to use buybacks pretty aggressively, to offset the dilution from giving away Solstice shares and just signal confidence, reaffirm their commitment to returning cash. That would be a big positive.
Agreed. That's a strong possibility. And also watch M&A activity. With a cleaner structure, maybe a better valuation multiple, they might look to do some bolt-on acquisitions,
Yeah.
especially those targeted growth areas, like building automation. Using their new stock or balance sheet to quickly bulk up in core areas would really help validate the whole strategy.
Right, prove the pure play focus works.
Exactly. And one last thing. If that industrial automation segment doesn't show signs of improvement soon after the spinoff, don't be surprised if we start hearing talk or maybe even see an announcement about a strategic review or potentially more restructuring within that specific segment. They really need to address that lingering weakness if they want the market to fully buy into that higher PE multiple story.
Makes sense. They need to clean up all the corners.
So wrapping it up, our overall leaning heading into this specific report is, well, pretty neutral. The operational picture is genuinely mixed, strong aerospace fighting against weak industrial. The whole quarter is just dominated by this transformation, this event risk with Solstice. We really need to see the actual results and, more importantly, get clearer guidance for the post-spin Honeywell before we can have strong conviction either way.
Absolutely. It feels like a wait-and-see moment on the operations while the structural change plays out. And that really leaves us with a key question for you, the listener, to think about. Once the dust settles, once Solstice is trading separately, and that operational noise from the materials business is gone, how will the market value this newly focused, refined Honeywell? And maybe just as critical, how fast will management move to deploy capital, whether it's buybacks or deals in areas like building automation, to really try and capture and maximize that potentially higher valuation? Lots to watch.
Okay, thank you for joining us for this analysis. We'll catch you next time for another look at what's moving the markets.